pleased to say we're joined in the studio by our defence and security analyst, Professor Michael Clark. As we saw there with John Sparks reporting, and it's on the Sky News website, drones have really been a game changer when it comes to the battlefield in the war in Ukraine.
Yes, I mean, game changer is a funny word because wars are never won by one technology, but it's certainly new. There are two respects. One is very new, one isn't. What we're looking at now is a Shahed drone, which are these very cheap Iranian drones. They're $20,000 each, maybe $50,000 at most. The fact that they could be produced in mass numbers is key. The Russians have upgraded these now to jet engine drones, the Jiran 3 as they call it, or the Shahed 238 in Iranian terms. The point is they can use lots of them. Now, that's not conceptually new. It's just that they've got lots more aircraft in the air doing things that aircraft do. But what's conceptually new is what John Sparks was talking about, the little drones, the FPV drones. These things are like aircraft, and they do the same job as aircraft, except in the case of the Shaheds, they're suicide drones. They make one trip, generally speaking, and blow themselves up, kamikaze stuff. But the small ones are conceptually new because they dominate the airspace below, say, 2,000 feet. This makes it impossible for soldiers to move around on the battlefield safely. They're doing the same job as artillery shells, pinning down the enemy, but they're cleverer than artillery shells because an artillery shell goes where it goes, and troops on the ground take their chances. They dig in and hope for the best. But if a drone picks you up, and there's somebody watching at the other end, then it can follow you into your dugout and explode. So it creates a different level of terror, which makes it very hard for individuals to move around. They get frightened as soon as they hear the little buzz, almost like a bee buzz. They worry that somebody's picked them up, and then their chances aren't great. The best defense anyone on the ground has got is a shotgun, simply to try to pepper the thing with shot when it's 50 feet away. But that's a last hope.
Given all of that context, then, where are we on the battleground? What's the situation that you've been reading?
Well, the drone war has reached this new level in the last 12 to 15 months, which is making movement on the ground very difficult and almost impossible for armored vehicles to move except under great danger. It's helped to create a very fluid front line where both sides have got pockets of men interspersed in an area that could be anything from 5 kilometers wide to about 40 kilometers wide in some parts of the battlefield. That means the war has gone down to a very interpersonal, very vicious battle between men on the ground who can only move around in certain ways and can't be supplied easily. People are being dropped into a forward position with a certain amount of food and ammunition, and then they hope that the drones can supply them after 72 or 120 hours. Sometimes they can, sometimes they can't. That can't go on forever, but that's where we are at the moment. On the ground, the Russians are still slogging forward, but are not getting very far, even though they're pushing hard this week against Prosk and Derilia, but they're probably not going to succeed. My own guess is that there won't be any big movement on the ground now till the end of the winter, and they'd be wrong, but I don't think the Russians can produce a strategic offensive, and the Ukrainians can't really do more than keep holding their ground. They're holding it pretty well, but they're tired, overmatched in numbers, and running out of troops. Their ammunition's coming through a bit better now, but there's only so long armies can keep slogging away without rest and rehabilitation to renew themselves and their units. So the Ukrainians are fighting very well, but they're getting exhausted.
Okay, Professor Michael Clark, thank you so much.